So let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Joseph Mwima, aka Just Jose. He is an audio producer and a studio engineer. Rather, sound engineer, apologies. And then ambassador. Please join us on stage. Thank you so much for coming. And finally, he is a business manager from Swangs Avenue, Mr. Ivan Chifumba. I actually have a question for you. Recently, I tried to post I posted a video with Winnie Nwaji's song in the background, and they took it down. So, so I would really like to understand that, because I'm imagining it's copyright. Yes, so these people will be moderated by Miss Maureen Andinda. She is the Rahu Business and Development Strategy Manager.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us this long. Very duly appreciated. Let's just give one more round of applause for the panel. My name is Maureen Andinda, and I am the Strategy and Business Development Manager at ReachAhand Uganda, and I am extremely honored to be seated here with these gentlemen, and we're going to be discussing about the music industry in the age of digital distribution. So a lot of the conversations that have come before this have really touched on the aspect of digital distribution. We've had the panels before speaking about how you put your music out there, which platforms are you putting them on, how do you access those platforms, and we're really going to try and delve into that during this conversation. I'll quickly get right into it, and I will start with Ivan.
Hello, hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Fine, how are you?
If you could just explain to us what digital music distribution is. Previously, it's been you have your CDs, you have your flash drive, and you're taking it to all of these different maybe promoters or DJs or VJs or TV and radio. What is digital music distribution?
Okay, hi, good evening everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Ivan Chifumba, Music Business Manager at Swangs Avenue. And that's an interesting question because a lot of the questions, I think Atin asked the question, Nina Rose, and Tonix. So basically, okay, let me just describe my job at Swangs Avenue as a music business manager is to make sure the music is fully monetized anywhere, at whatever point, anywhere in the world. So it's not really just about distribution. There's distribution, and then the other angle to it, same content, music publishing. So Nina Rose was asking something about how do I ensure my song is registered and I'm earning from it. It's very simple. Get a distributor you trust, get a publisher you trust. It's really that simple. So music distribution, like in any industry, it's just getting something from point A to point B, legally and securely. So my job as a distributor and as a publisher is to make sure all music, like artists, generate revenue from their music globally, regardless of whatever platform, including as a distributor, I'm also a licensor. So things like how we biz, and I'll go back, it's interesting, the gentleman Innocent was up here because Mudundo pays me for the music I distribute. Mudundo, and Mudundo, ideally, it's the same business model with how we biz. So it's not a question of, and he brought up revenue share in terms of like purchasing, direct purchase. It's not really about that. It's about revenue share. And Tonix brought it up. You're making money off ads, leveraging content, right? But there's an owner, there's a copyright owner to that content. So even that revenue you're generating through ads, you can figure it out. It's a math thing. You can figure it out and then say, for this number of streams on my website as how it is, I'm gonna get, if I've generated $1,000 of ad revenue, I'm gonna give even 5% or even 10, but it's just, you just have to make the decision. It's not just about buying, there's ad revenue involved as well. So as a licensor, I'm mandated to help you figure that out. So basically, people like Nina Rose, Tonix, Atin, you don't need to worry about that. Your creators, your artists, get a distributor, get a publisher. It's that simple.
All right. I'll quickly move on to just Jose, and we'll segue from the question, from the response that he has given. There are all of these different titles that you've spoken about: publisher, licensor, distributor. Just Jose, speak to us a little bit about the agents, the middlemen. Who are these people who are connecting the artist to the platform? What are their roles? Where do we find them? How do we engage with them?
Okay. Hi, everyone. First of all, happy to be here. So an agent is basically a distributor, like he said. So in this case, he probably uses, he'll tell us which platform he uses, probably. But what happens is, all these online digital stores, so you have iTunes, which is Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, all these other platforms. You can't necessarily distribute your music directly to them, because at the end of the day, I think they would rather deal with the end user, who is the listener, the consumer of the music, as opposed to going into the nitty-gritties of contracts with artists and things like that. So what they do is they then give an option of getting your music onto those platforms through different distributors. In this case, TuneCore, DistroKit, Vidya, and Fuga, and the likes. So what happens is, you as the artist create your music, and then to get it onto Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is, you go through these distributors, which we call agents. You get. So at the end of the day, they take a percentage, or they charge you a fee of of the revenue you generate, and that's how they make money. So these middlemen are really just a connection between those platforms, the streaming platforms, and you, the artist, or the record label, or whoever owns the rights to the music.
I'd like to really break this down for us who are lay people and are not so familiar with the industry, to the most, first principle terms of it. Where do I find an agent? Do I hit them up on Twitter? Do I send them an email? How do I access these agents?
So that's what you talked about. Find yourself a publisher, find yourself a distributor. He's a publisher, he's a distributor. That means that's his work. He's the person who's going to, he probably has, he'll probably be the person representing those distributors in Uganda, if that makes sense. So if you want to get your music on those platforms and get a good deal out of it, because we've moved into an age where it's no longer just about putting your music onto these platforms and letting it generate money on its own, you need some value addition. In this sense, you need an agent who's going to push for your song to be, to feature on a playlist that has all these Nigerian songs, which means bigger exposure for your music, which means a whole new market that you're going to play into, which means bigger revenue for you as an artist. So he's the guy right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Ambassador, you have...
Let me just add something to that quickly.
Sure.
Just something small. So, so there are tiers to this. There's the aggregator, and this is what every one of you here uses, I'm assuming, most of you. The aggregator, the TuneCore, the DistroKid and everything, CD Baby, that's an aggregator. And what they do is just get the stone and throw it in the ocean. What I do is different. I'm a distributor. Basically, I'm beyond an aggregator. So I have direct relationships with the streaming services, and there's certain things I can do that TuneCore cannot do for you.
Okay, so for someone to contact you, do they have to be, for example, affiliated to Swangs?
No, I do it for Swangs as the label, So it's an in-house service as well, but we also extend it to outside clients, whoever is interested. But the caveat to that is it has to be high volume content. It doesn't matter, like if you're just starting up, I'm probably not of any use to you. You're probably better off with a TuneCore. But if you're Spice Diana or Nina Rose, then maybe you need me.
Just to add, to put it in very basic terms, I'm sure every artist here is familiar with the CRBT companies and the kind of work they used to do. That's the callback ringtones and all that stuff. So you've probably heard of SMS1, DMARC, and what's Innocent's company called?
Howie Galaxy?
Yeah.
Howie.
Anyway, those companies are called aggregators. They are like middlemen. Yeah. They put you in touch with the network, which then, features your song on their platform, if that makes sense. So what he's trying to say is that TuneCore is just an aggregator. It's just a middleman. He as a distributor has the license to distribute on your behalf with whichever platform he chooses. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm just going to park that point of discussion for now, and we'll revisit it because I think that there are a lot of points that might be divergent with what we have as a market and as Uganda, and so we're going to come back to that. But for now, I wanted to ask Ambassador, you have quite, the extension across the region, East Africa. I know that you are based in Nairobi. What has been your experience with distributing your music on platforms, say iTunes or Pandora?
Hi everyone, my name is Ambassador. Seto East Africa, Seto 256, NBS CAT, and many more. The experience is a bit, or not even a bit, but is strongly outstanding, because this is what I usually tell people. I've been talking about this online distribution for more than 5 years to so many Ugandan artists, but they didn't really understand it. And thanks to COVID, this is really becoming like the norm. People like Dax, I've been telling them about this. People like Joe said, I've been telling them about this because it's so evident. You see, a guy will take a CD from you and tell you that they are distributing your music downtown. But what assurance do you have that the money you've given to this guy and the CD has gotten, or the music has gotten to where it should be? Now this is the difference between the online distribution like iTunes, CD Baby, Deezer, AudioMac, and all those. Once you are aggregated, just like the aggregators, because most of us here, the three of us, might be having that aggregation expertise, but once you're aggregated, it becomes easy for you to monitor your music. You understand? How many people have watched, have listened to it after 2 days, you'll still get to know how many people have listened to it. You understand? It's very evident, way easier and more professional than the normal downtown kind of distribution, because someone can ask you for 10,000 to take your song to Nakurabi, and they might just branch off to Casablanca and just do their own thing. You understand? But if you gave a song to just Jose, Ambassador, or anyone else, and they aggregate it properly onto any network, it will be easy for you to track it down. So online distribution is here to show us that there is a real world, you understand, that is easy to monitor. You understand? I think that's my biggest and my best experience ever.
One of the challenges of just really anything digital, even beyond the music industry, for people who are trying to put their content out there, is the divergence between the structures that we have in Uganda as a market and the international structures. And a lot of these streaming platforms are international, right? So an example I can quickly give is for people to pay for music, right? Maybe an album or a single, depending on what the content on these platforms is. It's very likely they'll ask you for a debit or a credit card, something that not a lot of Ugandans are I'll say comfortable with. We're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. A lot of us, we want mobile money. Tell me too, how much money can I send you? How do we speak on digital distribution while ensuring that the context that we have as Uganda is kept in mind? As people in the works and in some of these spaces, what is it that we can do to ensure that these distribution companies, these streaming services are cognizant that Africa, and by extension Uganda, is a market that maybe they have to consider in terms of what its maybe payment options are. Maybe someone wants to pay, but they're not going to pay because their money is on mobile money and they don't necessarily have a card.
This is it. Like 5 years back or 6 years back, I told an artist that very soon the music industry is gonna change from being just doing it for fun, doing it for women, doing it for men and all that, but to a business junction. You understand? So basically, a few years back, if you look back, you can realize that we had very few artists who could really sit on TV and express themselves very well. You understand? But the industry is growing, and where we are right now, we know the need of an aggregator. You understand? So not everyone is gonna do this. You as an artist start assigning people to do these things for you. Some of the people that have really tried using that kind of procedure, they've managed to make some money out of it. Not everyone is like Epas that they will understand it. Not everyone is like Maurice Kidia that will understand it, you understand? But if you don't really understand it, there's one guy I would really like to give as an example that has made good money out of the online experience without even having that online expertise, and that's Eddie Kenzo. Eddie Kenzo started exploring this journey without even knowing much about this, but he decided to mandate people to do these things for him. You understand? So as an artist, it's not a must that you'll carry all the burdens. You'll do the writing, you'll do the media push, you'll do the show bookings and all those. Start splitting work. And give people work, let them do things for you. Yes, I know there's a culture that Ugandans have, Ntibo, they think everything that anyone is involved, they are robbed or in a way. But no, you'll never find a rich man that has never been robbed in any way, even Bill Gates. You understand? So you will be conned at least 500 shillings, but you'll get 1,500 shillings. So the bigger point, or the bigger picture here is the 1,500 that you've managed to get, and the other guy has managed to get the 500 shillings. You understand? So that's all I can tell you guys. Start letting people do these things for you.
Ivan or Jose, does any of you have submission regarding the structures that are within the industry and how those can be aligned?
I think we're all familiar. We're all familiar with what Tidal did, the partnership between Tidal and MTN Uganda, because you can now register and stream music through Tidal by just owning an MTN SIM. You know, they've managed to, and the payment is through mobile money. So that's something MTN, I think, did on their own. I don't even know how they did it, but that's a step in the right direction. It's also a step in the direction of financial inclusion, in the sense that MTN understands that most of the youth who want to stream this music probably don't have access to credit cards, and you know, if you go to these other platforms, those are the only payment methods that are allowed. So I feel like that's a step in the right direction, but also in support of those big companies. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. If Uganda is contributing 0.001% of the revenue they generate as Apple Music, why would they even consider, you know, doing anything that is, or creating a platform that is, you know, for Uganda, in favor of Uganda, you get? So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. How do we get the numbers up? By regulation. What URSB is doing. That's a step in the right direction. Next step, all artists need to get their music on these platforms. Even if it's an artist in, you know, northern Uganda, the east, any corner of Uganda, get your music, digitize your music. Yeah. After that, people will consume it. Why am I going onto iTunes right now, or Apple Music, and I can't access, for example, Afrigo Band's music? Why? Does that mean there's no point in time when I want to listen to Afrigo Band? But does it mean that I can only listen to Afrigo Band if I buy their CD? You get what I mean? I probably don't have space on my phone to download their music for free on Weebiz. But at the end of the day, let's also, you know, as artists, ensure that all our music is on these platforms. Before you know it, everyone will want to consume it digitally.
Yeah.
I hear you on the point of numbers and just really making a case for these streaming services to actually invest in a market like ours. Ivan, let's quickly speak on the aspect of quality of the content or of the music versus what that means for you to get you know, your music on some of these streaming channels. Is it a prerequisite? Because over time the quality has improved, but it can get better. In terms of Jose, you were saying something about, and you'll excuse my language, but maybe the mastering or, you know, overlapping of beats. Is that something that's really important for the artists to ensure that it's something that they hold, the people that they work with, their teams accountable for, to ensure that as we're developing content, we are now putting a global lens to it such that it's really good, and we have, you know, those streaming services as the endpoint for this content?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna lead that into the discussion Jose was talking about. But quality isn't really a prerequisite, because we've seen songs go viral and they're not mixed well, they're not mastered well. But at the end of the day, the difference between a song going viral and a song getting on Billboard or on an actual chart is the quality of the mix and the master. So of course, the quality of the music has to be up there. And the thing is, a person like me, I will build a pipeline or a supply chain to get a product from point A to point B. My next concern with that is what type of product it is, right? Because right now I can say comprehensively, there's an actual global distribution mechanism available in Uganda. You just need to reach out. Same as publishing, right? But now the question is, the quality doesn't come down to me. It then comes down to the artists and the labels and everything. So, and then leading up to what like what we can do for streaming, especially, like, it's not really about worrying about what platforms are here or not, because Tidal is accessible, right? Apple Music is accessible, Boomplay is accessible. So me as a distributor, and that's why I said, if you're an artist and you have a release coming up, we sit down, we plan, we say, what's your audience? Yeah. We get into your social media. Very important. It's very, like, it's important to know, like, where is your audience coming from? So if your audience is coming from Kenya, Nigeria, then UK, then China, my job is to figure out what platform do they use in these regions, right? And then I plan accordingly, and then I target or do my marketing accordingly. Yeah. So if it's Uganda, I will know maybe Boomplay or Tidal, Apple Music are priority, not Spotify. I probably won't even have Spotify in my plan for Uganda. But maybe if it's London, then maybe I'll have Spotify in my plan. So yeah, it's a mix of things.